Just a quick hi or a hello on the chat. I'll welcome you all for today's lecture. I hope I'm audible, guys. I'm trying to fix up the issue if I'm audible. Looks like I'm audible. Okay. Cool. So, guys, I hope let's wait for a couple of more minutes to let people join in. Meanwhile, if you have any questions, guys, like regarding your careers, regarding Python, or regarding our previous lectures, right? So we can talk about it. So we can utilize the time till people are joining in, right? So if you have any questions, some advice or something, whatever you feel like you want to talk. So as always, we're going to wait for like a couple of more minutes to let people join in. Okay, so then we can quick start. So today, as per our discussion, we're going to talk about the common interview Python codes. Okay, so I know that we left something yesterday in between. So we talked about lambda functions apply, right? So we were doing a couple of questions. So we did a couple of questions there, but yeah, we were still supposed to do a lot of things there. We're going to take it next week. Okay, so we're going to take it accordingly. But yeah, for at least for this week, let's stick to where this is one of the master classes for you, right? So we're going to talk about common interview Python codes again. So we're not going very deep in Python. Okay, so we're going to stick to the most frequently asked questions. So, I mean generally if you have been asked for technical rounds, right? So those questions are expected to be solved in like less than 5 minutes. Okay, so we're going to talk about those set of questions. So we're going to talk about some of the basic questions. Okay, but again, these are not okay, so not very easy to solve. So we have to be smart enough to solve this. Okay, so we're going to talk about that, and then we're going to do it accordingly. So meanwhile, we're waiting for people to join in. So again, as questions, guys, please feel free to drop in your questions here. We can take that. Meanwhile, people are still joining in. Okay. And yeah, so as if I talk about very difficult ones, so you will not be able to understand because we have just started, right? But again, I'm going to stick to those questions which are I mean, you should be able to solve it with the kind of discussions we have had till date. Okay, so I'm going to cover those questions only. Okay, and the way we're going to do it, so like I'll try to explain you the best I can. Okay, but again, if you have any questions, please feel free to drop in your questions. We can talk about that. Okay, so we're gonna wait for I think 1 more minute before people in, and then we can jump start towards our today's discussion, right? And then we are waiting, and if you have any questions, guys, please feel free to drop in your questions. Anything regarding your doubt, like coming and listening me as I'm some odd speaker. So don't do that. Python is all about practice. If you won't practice, right, and if you won't ask questions, you won't be able to understand it. I mean, you won't be able to grasp it, right? So I mean, you might understand it at the time of when I'm speaking, but when you actually start doing it on your own, right, you will understand. Okay, yeah, what is this square bracket? Where I need to put parenthesis? Where to use what? When to use comma? A lot of questions, right? So it's tricky when you actually start coding. So always be attentive and try to ask as many questions as you can, right? Because without that, it becomes really tricky. So it's not a lingual thing which you are reading. It's more of a code, right? So it's gonna improve with your practice. Right, so let's quickly jump start. As you know, guys, my name is Arpit Jain. I have 8 years of industry experience, more than 8 years of industry experience. And I've been into multiple domains. As I said, I've been into finance, I've been into cloud, and then I was in automobile manufacturing unit. And then I'm currently with telecommunication industry. So I've seen how industry has been using Python specifically towards their data science objective. And I've been talking about why Python is more frequently used. So I've seen the industry been, I would say kind of moved on from the old tech and tools which primarily some other tech and tools, and now they have moved towards Python because yeah, Python provides that kind of flexibility for your deployments. So it actually does. And then Python is again open source. You already know it, guys, right? So there is nothing which Python can't do, to be honest, and you have those kind of things which is available with Python, so which makes it very user friendly. And yes, across the platforms you can use it the way you want. Right, so that's why we're taking Python as our one of the courses as part of our discussion. So and we have been talking about Python, and Python we have started with functions. We did something on lambda functions, like a unanimous inline functions, and then we talked about like in the data science part we talked about pandas. So we are covering we have seen a lot of functionalities in pandas, right? And we were doing something on data frames yesterday, in the last weekend. And then, guys, so that's how the agenda is. So weekends we're covering the data science stuff of Python, and then normally other Python stuff. So during the course, we have a plan to move towards PySpark as well, which is a distributed computation of Pythons over my master and slave network. So we're going to do that as well. And also I have a suggestion to use SQL. So I'm going to incorporate SQL as well. But I'm still looking out for a right time to put in, to introduce you to SQL. So we're going to take it as the time permits. Okay, and then you have the code right in front of your screen, which is Python 10, and if you're going to use this code Python 10, you're gonna get 10% off on your developer subscription. So developer subscription, there is a specific need for that, right? So time for a quick promotion, guys. So why exactly you need a developer subscription? So it's basically for those who want to become a software developer or have just become a software developer, right? So Unacademy brings you a platform where you can actually get an access to weekly shows which you can watch live. Okay, and some of the shows which are upcoming on the Unacademy platforms are like the placement hiring updates from the startups or the big tech companies, right? And their eligibility criteria, so you'll get to know the right details, what companies and what kind of notifications you want, and then notifications regarding the hiring updates and their eligibility criteria, so whether you fit in for that role or not, and how to prepare. So a lot of things regarding the hiring processes you'll be getting an update. And then definitely how to approach CodeChef, one of the places where people are really struggling. So do's and the don'ts for CodeChef, you'll get our details on that. And then the pre-placement talks where the HRs from the companies are actually coming and they're talking to you, okay, and they're talking about their hiring processes, the entire process, the kind of rounds they're going to go through, what is the expectation from the company, and what is the company's vision, and how are you going to be fitting in to that company's vision, and why they should be hiring you, right? Accordingly, how you should be preparing for that company. So a lot of things. So you can get your gray areas, the questions which normally puts you in that gray area, right, of a dilemma, of a mindset. So you can talk to those people and get an unfair understanding of how to prepare, what to prepare. A lot of things, right, when you go for placements. So you can always talk about that. And then the top 20 questions which are most frequently asked, guys. So top 20 questions which are most frequently asked during the interviews, right? So you know what kind of you have a set of 20 questions, I would say or 20 questions which are most frequently asked. So it's always advisable, if you know those questions, to have your responses in some sort of a bullet pointers handy, right? So it helps you to frame up your sentences when you go and talk to the recruiters. It always helps. So you can get your responses tailor made according to your profile, right? So my responses would be different to somebody else's responses, right, when it comes to the behavioral questions. So yeah, in that case you can get those questions very much answered according to your profile. So that's again gonna be a very, very beneficial part. And then there's something called as live problem solving, where you have an option to do a real life project. So you'll be doing the problem solving right on the screens, and then there'll be a mentor, there'll be a person solving along with you. So he'll be working along with you. So if you have any doubts, if you're getting stuck anywhere, right, so that's the place where you can get your queries cleared. I believe this is something which is really good, and definitely it helps you a lot in a lot of other things as well. So it's always good to have live support when you're working on some problem statements. Right, and then definitely we have the life journey of the fellow coders from the big companies, right? So what are those companies like Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, Google? So we know them as FANG companies, right? So for these companies, if you have, I mean, you're really looking to target these big companies, so it's always advisable to know, how to land in such jobs. So I mean, and the people who are already part of those organizations, those are the best guys to get a fair understanding on those parts, right? So definitely, if you get a chance to talk to them, that's one of the very beneficial thing I would say if you're really targeting such big companies. So you can get a fair option here to talk to them and understand what changes they have done in your profile and what you can do, right? So that's again gonna be a beneficial part. And then on top of all this, definitely you'll be getting an online mentor support for your online mock interviews from the industry experts, right? So these industry experts, they have already seen the world and they have already seen the people, so they are gonna take your mock interviews, okay? And mock interviews are like pre-placements mock interviews. So before your placement, you can actually get a real-time experience of how the interviews are, okay? And then what kind of questions you can expect. So sometimes you believe that you have done everything right, still you don't click that job, right? So there is something which might or might not be going wrong. So it's always advisable to have that sort of feedback handy with you, right? And because if you have the right feedback, you know where to improve on. If you do not know the feedback, do not know your improvement areas, you're always running behind the bush, right? So it's like a never-ending game. So you always feel like you're the best, but still you'll not get selected, right? So it's always good to have that feedback available with you. So that's where this platform gonna help you, right? And then again, you have to just pay a mere amount of $9.99 for about a year subscription. But again, if you use the code which is right there in front of your screen, which is Python 10, you can get it for $8.99. Cool. One of the very good shows which I've come across coming live on the Unacademy platform is like every Friday night at 10 p.m. So it's by Mr. Raj Vikramaditya. You know him by name Striver. So he is taking the college projects reviews, guys. So I mean, if you really want your college project to tick all the right boxes, and if you want to land in a very good internship or maybe a potential good job post that, right? So definitely this is the thing which you might be thinking of, what college projects to work on. Is it of the standard quality, or is it the problem statement is nice enough to impress the recruiters? Lot of questions you guys already have, I know that, right? So you can talk about your college projects, and then if suppose you've already selected the college project and if you're getting stuck somewhere, so all kind of improvements, all kind of suggestions, all kind of reviews for your textual facts which you're writing in your synopsis and all that. So that's going to help out, right? And again, if you still feel that, you have an option to browse through some other college projects, so you can still look for other options as well. So Mr. Raj gonna help you out in that college projects review part, and he is going live every Friday night at 10 p.m. Right, and again, this is part of the developer subscription with $9.99 per year, and then with the code right in there in front of you, Python 10, you're gonna get it for $8.99. Another show which is going live every Saturday afternoon at 2 p.m. by Mr. Sai Avinash, and he's taking the Code Chef apprentice, like how to approach the Code Chef, the right set of questions, and he might be solving the live questions as well right in there with you, right? And he's like SDE from Google, and he's a 7-star at Code Chef. So he's really good at what he's doing, right? So, and if you guys really want to understand the do's and don'ts about the Code Chef, then this is the place for you guys. So I mean, he's going live every Saturday afternoon at 2 p.m. Again, this is part of the developer subscription that is for $8.99 with the code Python 10. Cool. Again, this is the official Telegram channel. Link is available in the YouTube video description, guys. Okay, so if you this is a place for you to actually join the course, and I mean, if you want to have the right updates at the single place, so this is a place for you. So I mean, you'll have all the live updates for the classes, for the shows at the single place, and you can join it. Cool. Like, share, subscribe, that's download, and then bell icon, no doubts in that. Cool. So guys, right, so we are today in our masterclass, and we're going to talk about the top coding Python interview questions, set 1. Okay, so we're going to start with some of the basic questions which are most frequently asked in Python. Okay, I'm gonna talk about the coder's way of writing it. I mean, in more of a single line of a code, and then we're gonna frame it in a beautiful way, right? Like with some print statements, with an input statement, and all that. So we're gonna talk about that. Okay, so we're gonna talk about those set of questions like right after this, right? So and then we're gonna talk about how we can write it to actually it kind of impress the recruiters as well. Okay, so if there are a lot of ways to solve the simple problem. Again, like for example, if somebody is asking you to do a plus b, you can simply write a plus b, will give you the answer. But again, there's a beautiful way of writing it, like you can get a data as an input and then write a print statement before sum, after sum, and all that. So a lot of ways. So I mean, the beautification is also sometimes it becomes important in terms when you go for the recruitment process, right? So we're going to talk about that, how we can actually set up the things. Okay, any questions, guys? If you have anything, please feel free to drop in your questions in the chat. I'm actually monitoring it the best I can, right? If I still miss out something, some of the chats, and you feel that I'm mute for some time, so there's a network lag as well for around I think 15 seconds. Please stay tuned. I'll try to come back to you at the earliest I can. Okay, again, the expectation is, guys, to interact as much as you can. Okay, so try to ask as many questions, and if you have any doubts, I'll try to be as simple as possible. I mean, from my knowledge perspective. But again, if you still feel that there is something which is going over the head and you still have other questions, please feel free to drop in a text again. Okay. Cool. So yes, so we are in today's lecture we're going to talk about some of the basic questions. Okay, so we're going to start slow. So we're going to start with the very basic questions. Okay, and then we're going to talk about some of the good functionalities in Python where we can actually put up the things and try to answer the questions. Okay, right. So thank you, Bhargav. Okay, so we have the first question. Okay, so now it is most frequently, I've seen it like in the very basic junior level interviews, they are asking like if you have to, like, whatever number you're gonna give to the Python code, like just like a program, it should tell me whether the number is odd or even. Okay, so the question is, I have to for any given number I have to say whether the number is odd or even. Okay, and the Python should be able to tell me this, that the number is odd or even. Okay, guys, so I'm going to give you 15 seconds. I mean, I know it's not very tricky, but again, sometimes it's always good to ask the question. So my question is, I want you to tell me, like, what do you mean by odd or an even number? Okay, so for you, what is actually an odd number and what is actually an even number? Okay, again, I know you guys already know this, but again, just for the formality purpose, so that people can interact, just a quick question. How do you know what is an odd number or what is an even number? Exactly, Manjunath, right? Thank you for putting that in. Absolutely right. So what these guys are telling me, so Abhishek, Manjunath, right? So it's like more of the place where we should be knowing what is odd or even, right? So if like for example, I have numbers like 2, 3, 4, 5. So what all are odd numbers here? Like 3 and 5, right? And what all are my even numbers? 2 and 4, right? You can see this. So what is the pattern here? So always see, whenever we are trying to do some of the things in Python, right? So always think from don't jump into the writing the codes, right? So because some people have responded n%2 equal to 0. Let's try to understand what it is. Okay. So first, odd number is what? You can see, you're seeing a pattern here, right? And definitely if the number is odd or even, so there is some condition. So if the condition is true, then it is odd or even, or if the condition is not true, then it is odd or even, depending on the vice versa case we are taking off, right? So there is like some sort of if or else condition. If this is true, then it is odd, or is else, right? So we have some sort of that situation here, right? And then also we try to understand what is the definition of odd or even. So odd is what? When basically in the pattern I'm seeing that, right? So if the number is actually divisible by 2, then we can say that the number is even, right? Or else it is odd. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Sandeep, for writing that. So if the number is divisible by 2, we can say that it is even, or else it is odd. No questions in that, right? No questions in that. So we're going to stick to that logic. So now in Python, how are we going to do that? So there is a function. I mean, I have told about the operands in Python. So we have talked about %. We have talked about flow division. So I hope you guys are aware of this. So I'm going to quickly revise this. So % is nothing but called as modulus. Okay, and modulus is nothing but, so it gives you gives remainder of the division. Okay, so whatever division I'm going to do, this will give me the remainder of it. So basically, if I'm going to do say 3 where the %2, this will give me 1, because If I divide 3 by 2, so 2 will be gone and 1 is the remainder, right? So this modulus is known as a remainder, but it will give me the remainders, right? So this is where the the percent is used. So I have floor division next. So floor division is nothing but my, like for example, if I have 10, okay, and 10 divided by 4, so the answer would be 2, okay. So thing is, so it will give you the integer flooring, integer division. For example, so 4, if I take 4 multiplied by 2, so 8. So, and if I do it for 3 times, it will become 12. So greater than 10, right? So maximum what a 4 can cut is 8, okay, and it cannot go beyond that. So the floor division is 2. Okay, so this is the maximum to which it can accommodate till 10, and forget about the remainder. Okay, so the remainder is not a picture here. What is the max number of quotient I can put my divisor to? Okay, so that's what a floor division gives me. Okay, now to our logic here. So people have already started putting the things. So basically my logic is, if the number, whatever number I'm gonna give it, if the number is divisible by 2 and the remainder, so basically this is gonna give me the remainder, right? So if the remainder is equal to 0, then I can say that it is even, else odd, right? So this is what I have to code now. So I have the logic in front of me. Now let's try to code it. Okay, I hope this point is very much clear, and thank you so much guys for being so active, right? So now again, I have not taught you this, but I'm going to tell you today. So in Python, so see, whenever they talk about some number, right? So I have to give that number to that logic. So this is going to be a program for me, right? Okay, so this cell going to be a program for me. So in this program, we have in Python, we have something called as input function. Okay, so by input, if we simply run input, right, you've seen that it has opened a dialog box at the bottom, right? So basically it expects some sort of input from my end. Okay, so it's a user input. I can put that input to my to that program. Okay, so we're gonna use this input for my number. So the user can give this number. So whatever I'm gonna give, right? So for example 3, 5. So we'll take it as an input. Okay, so it has printed 4 as of now. So but there's nothing is happening inside. But again, on this input, I'm gonna take the logic in. Okay, and you see by default it has taken it as string value. Okay, so we're gonna take that also in mind. So okay, so now first I'm gonna give the number as an input, user defined number, to the input to my program. Okay, so I'm gonna use this input functionality. And this input we can add my comment also, like what is, for example, so like say enter number of your choice. Okay, like this. So if you can still see this, you can see there is a dialog box coming up, enter number of your choice, which I have written as a command here, right? So now if I give again 4, it'll take 4. So this 4 has been given here as an input on top of my statement which I provided, and it is giving me as a string value. Okay, so this is gonna be my input. Now since you know already this is in string, so I have to again convert this into integer, right guys? Please stop me if you have any questions anywhere, right? I'm trying to monitor the chat as much as I can, and then I'm gonna save this to my variable. So for example, I can save this, right? So now let's see this. So now I'm giving num as a number to input value, say 4 again. Okay, it has taken it. Now let's try to print num. You can see num has taken the value which I have provided externally. Okay, so this is what I want. It is done, right? So I have given the input. So now the question is, now on this input value I have to run the logic. So basically this num has to be passed on top of my this logic. So num %2 or equal to 0. This is a logic, right? So now, and as I said, so it's more of an if else condition, right? So because if this logic is true, then it is even, and then if this logic is not true, then odd. So we have again a looping criteria, if and else here. So we can write in the if statement, if num %2, right, equal to 0, colon, I can say print what? Print what? A number is even, right? Else print number is odd. We can do that, right? Let's see this. So I'm giving 4, number is even, and then when I'm gonna give say 11, the number is odd, and I can give any number of my choice. I can give, say, some big number like this, okay, and it still says number is odd. Okay, the logic still stands the same, right? So I've taken the input, converted into an int, and then wrote a logic here. I can actually still modify and still beautify this code. Okay, so in the print statement, I can pass the number also. I can pass multiple things, whatever I want to print. So I can pass this also, like num, and then I just remove this is even, and then I also remove this from here. I can write num. My bad. Cool. I can still do this. So say 143. So 143 is odd. So now you're printing the number as your output also. Clear, guys? Any questions? I'm going to stop here for some time to take your questions in. Okay. If you have any questions, do feel free to let your points. I'm going to talk about that. It's a very basic question, so we're gonna take a lot of other things also. But again, if you're okay with this input function, the logic writing and all that, so we can take the next question. Right? Absolutely, guys. Thank you so much, Manjunath. Yes, absolutely right. So if remainder is 0, then yes, it's an even number. So basically, then remainder, we're talking about the modulus function, the n%2. And then yes, input function, input on top of this, we're gonna use int, because input by default takes string. Okay, so we saw that when we just did it. I hope this question is pretty much clear, guys, right? It was plain simple. Okay, let me give you another question. Very, I think it's again a simple one only. Okay, so we're gonna do this. Okay, again a simple one only. So this time you're gonna do it. Okay, so I'm not gonna do it for you. So I'm gonna wait for 30 seconds or maybe 1 minute. So try to write this code from an input statement perspective. No need to write the comments. I can know that it's difficult to type in the chat sometimes. But again, try to write the logic of this. Okay, so try to write the logic and try to take it from the input statement. Okay, so here my question is, for any given number, I want to identify whether it is positive or negative. Okay, so that's my question. And then again, I want to use a number from the input functionality, because yes, it should be any given number. It should be a program for me, because if I use this, it's a program, right? It is running, it is asking me a user input, right? So likewise, you have to write a program which says that the number is positive or negative. Easy question, guys. Don't take more than 1 minute. So put in your answers right in the chat, and then we're going to jump to the bit tricky one, the next. I'm just asking this to be very sure that you got the concept of writing the if else and the input statement and all that. Yes, thank you so much, Tanushri. So we have one response here. So I mean, yes, she has used a function, and then function, very well said. In fact, yes, why not? We can use a function here, and we can use based on that we can call the function and give the number as an argument n. Very well said. Thank you so much, Tanushri, for giving a wonderful answer here. Okay, Manjunath says input again, if n is greater than 0, print positive, else negative. Wonderful, guys, wonderful. Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, guys, for being so proactive here. Let's do this quickly and then move to the next one, right? So as always, again, you know this, we're gonna use input, and input on top of this we're gonna write int, because input takes string. So again, we're gonna write enter the number. Okay, I'm gonna use this, and then what my logic is, if that number is greater than 0, okay, and that's what I'm gonna do. Then if greater than 0, then I'm gonna print say number itself, and then number is positive, and then else, my bad, okay, and else we can say that the number print number is negative. Cool. Any questions? I think it's pretty much in. And in fact, we can do one more thing here. Okay, so what if I want to identify the 0 state here? So let's do this. So let's give you an error. So for example, if I give 0 here, you can see this, it is giving me an error, because at the condition which you guys are telling me is num is greater than 0, right? So for even for 0, it will say it is a negative value. So we can add one more condition here. What if I say elif, and if number is equal to 0, right? Then print number, say just like 0 input, 0 like 0. Okay, yeah. So and then we're gonna write for 0, and then 0 is 0. And then what if, so like anything else I'm gonna write, like for example say minus 9119, and again 19 is negative, right? So cool enough, no questions here, guys. I think it's pretty simple, right? No, I think till here you must be feeling comfortable. Okay, so now let's jump to the next question quickly. Okay, now this is interesting. Okay, so I have seen like in most of the interviews where the time limit is less, and they're checking the person's ability to write the code, right? They're asking to write a code of the prime number. So for any given number, whether the number is prime or not. Okay, so yeah, again, so I'm gonna give you guys at least 10-15 seconds to give me the first logic of prime number. So what do you mean? What do you understand by a prime number? Okay, and then we first gonna write the definition of a prime number in more from a logical perspective. Then we're gonna code it. Okay, so I'm not gonna give you the code straight away. So I'm gonna first understand like what do you mean by a prime number. First give me that definition, and then we're gonna write it from from English language perspective. We're gonna first write the algorithm. Okay, so like the logic of the code, and then we're gonna code it. Okay, quick question, guys. What is a prime number? Don't Google it, please. Don't Google it if you don't know it. Just a guess. What is a prime number? Quickly, guys. Exactly. So we have few answers. A number is divisible by itself and 1. Okay. Exactly, guys. Very true. The prime number are the ones which are not divisible by any other number except by themselves or 1, right? So they are not divisible. Just that is the logic, right? So now, so what the thing is? So basically, there are 2 points here, right? So the number is not divisible by any other number except itself and 1. So that is the lingual definition of prime number, right? So that's how we know it. Cool. My bad, sorry, my system is acting up. Just a minute. Okay, yeah. So that is the definition. Now there are actually now we have to understand. For example, suppose I am giving the number as say 10. Okay, so my objective is I have to check what all things. So I have to first check the numbers like 1. So for 10, I have to check say what? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then remaining 1 has to be left out. So 1 and 10 is fine, right? So basically, all of these numbers till 10 should not be dividing the number which I am putting up, right? That is what I'm looking for. Can I convert it from a logical perspective? Is this making sense to you guys? So prime numbers are what? Not divisible by any number except from it itself or 1. So till 10, if I take it from say 1, so what all numbers? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 like this, right? So 1 and 10 are fine. So other numbers like 2 and 9, right? Till the last number except the last number. If it is getting divisible by any of these, it's not a prime. This is making sense? Right? I don't think this is too tricky for you guys. So, we just converted the definition into a mathematical representation, right? We just did that. Cool. So now let's try to write the code accordingly. Okay. And now one more condition, guys. Have you seen a negative number or a 0 to be part of my divisible? To my divisor. The number which should be dividing my numbers. Finding the prime numbers. So no. So the negative numbers are out of the picture here. and also 0 is out of the picture, right? So I don't want 0 to be considered here, because 0, a number divided by 0 is infinity, so that is not a that is not a point here, right? So definitely I cannot get a prime number for a 0 value, right? So I need to first get a condition. So basically my thing is the number, whatever I'll be giving an input here, so this, let it be the input. So this number first has to be greater than what? Greater than 1, because even 1 is fine, right? So 1 itself is divisible by 1, so 1, we cannot take it as 1 as a prime number, right? So anything greater than 1 is my prime number, which is not divisible by others and all that definition part, right? So the condition is whatever number I'm gonna put first, it has to be greater than 1, right? So this is my first condition. True, guys? Any questions in this? So this is my very first condition which I have to check. So it has to be greater than 1. Else, if it is not greater than 1, then I would say it is not eligible. It is so then I would say that the number is not eligible. So it is cannot be given a prime number. So for example, like that, right? So this is my first condition I have to check. Now my condition is I have to find the factors, I have to find the division, the division of all the values till the number which I am putting up. Okay, so if the number is 10, so I said, so 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, I have to check for all of these values, right? So I have to check for all of these values whether it is dividing the number which I have put up or not, right? So to get the entire thing, are you getting something? So we have to provide something called as range. So range is definitely a point of interest here. So I have to with this range I can get the values, right? So for example, if my value is 10 here, so let's now, and my objective is to find these values 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and I don't want 10 to be included, and I don't want 1 to be included. So in this case, can I write range of starting from 2 till 10? And why 10? Because in this range we always get the boundary condition as n-1. So if we do this, okay, so I'll rather print it for I in this, so and then print. So you got these values, right? And you got it in an iterable fashion also. So this is what you want. So you got all these numbers. So you understood. So if it's starting from 2, basically omitting the first number, 1 is anyway out, 1 is eligible for prime definition, and then the boundary condition tells basically my number. So if I put it in the logic, it should be num here, right? Are you getting it? Because 10 was my number I want to check. So basically this is what I want, right? So now, now for this, so now I have the individual values here. So on this values, if I say that if my number is, if I just say, with the same thing which we did earlier, so num percent of I is equal to 0. Okay, so I'm saying that it has divided my value and there is no remainder. If there is no remainder, then with this condition I can say that it's not prime, right? Else prime. Any questions, guys, here? Any questions? I'm trying to make it as simple as possible for you to understand it, okay? I hope this logic is simple, right? So basically I'm taking a range from 2, starting from 2, because I have to omit 1 here, right? And the final number is anyway eligible, right? So anything in the range between 2 and num is my target area, right? So now let's try to put all of this logic in a code in a beautiful fashion, okay? So let's omit this. Okay, no, I have to keep num is greater than 1, so I'm gonna remove this. Cool. So now I'm gonna input again. So I'm gonna say enter the number, okay, and then anyway I have to convert it into int, this already, okay. So this is my first number, right? Now I said I have to first check that the number has to be greater than 1, because I cannot get a prime number from negative or a 0 value, right? It has to be greater than 1. So if number is greater than 1, then my entire logic will fall here, okay? Else, so I'll just mark it like this, okay? So all the logic here, else print the number is not prime. Cool. So I think this, I'm just writing the if else condition for this one specifically, okay? So for this if, I'm writing the else here, okay? So now my whole code logic will be lying here, okay? Because I have to then put up my logic if the value is greater than 1. So then only the condition stands valid, right? So now let's do that. Okay, so now my first condition is, now I have to check if my values are divisible by that range. Okay, so now I told you how to check the range. So for I in range of what? Range of starting with 2 till my number, because that's what gives me the range of values, right? And then on this, if number modulus of I, my bad, sorry, modulus of I is equal to 0, that means there's no divisor, no remainder, and it has totally divided the number, right? Then in this case I'm gonna say print okay, say number is not, okay, my bad, I have to put a comma here, number is not prime. So this condition stands valid, so no questions here. Now for this if, see guys, indentation is very important in Python. Okay, so now my else, this else is for my this if, okay, and this else is for my this if. Always remember, indentation is very important. Okay, and this all of this condition is under my for loop itself. Okay, so for loop will be running first and then the conditions will be running second. Okay, so always look at the indentation, guys. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop in your questions. Okay, print, in this case, if it is not true, then the number is prime, right? And we can in fact break it here also. So you can use the break functionality. So if this is fine, so it won't even run this, it will directly come out here. Okay, it will directly break the operation. It won't even go to next parts. Cool. Any questions, guys? Any questions? I mean, we just replicated the logic in form of a code. Any questions, guys, in this? I'm still all ears. I'll try to read the chats. Okay, no questions here. So if you have any questions, feel free to drop in your chat. Let's try to run this. Okay, so now I'm seeing it. So now I'm entering a number. So say 10, for example, right? You know this 10 is not prime. Obviously 10 is not prime. Right? Now what if I give 13? My bad. What went wrong? What went wrong? Okay, so it is, let's see guys, what went wrong, please suggestion. Okay, so here it is printing n is prime multiple times y, so n% I is prime. Why it is printing multiple times? Okay, so I'm printing it in my for loop itself. Okay, my bad. So I need to take it some other way. So it should be okay, so I need to I can do a pass here, and then in this print itself I can do this print. Let's try this. 13, yeah, cool. Right, okay, so by the way, did you guys notice what just went wrong and why it was printing multiple times? Okay, meanwhile we have a question from Tanushri, which and she says you do not need to go with end of the n, you can just take n by 2. Yes, absolutely, we can do that. Yes, you're absolutely right. So again, there is no, I would say for any Python problem, right, there are n number of ways to solve it. Okay, it depends on the coder, to be honest. Okay, so it actually depends on what you are trying to solve and how you are trying to solve it. Okay, so for me, maybe I'm thinking like if I'm doing a plus b, for me a plus b is something else, right? And you even thinking that maybe you can take a variable c here, you can pass the a to c and then do a c plus b, you can do that. So still there are like n number of ways of solving the same problem, right? So whatever I'm demonstrating here, it's not a hard and fast line on a stone, right? So you can still do whatever way you want. We are just trying to break it up with some sort of logic here. Okay, so with some sort of logic, and then if you are able to make it with that logic, it's fine. So the logics are not wrong if you are coming to the same solution which you're trying to solve in prime, right? And the ultimate objective is to find the prime. Got it? So yes, yeah, for faster computation, you're absolutely right. We can take n by 2, but again, I'm just taking it from the ease perspective so that everybody else, based on our target audience, can understand it. You're absolutely right. Your actually as a response is actually good. We can do that as well. No problem in that. right? Again, it's all about your way, your approach, right? So for a same problem, approach can be different, right? So no, both of these approaches are not wrong. It's just like your way of solving that. Okay, cool. Till this point, guys, any questions? Is this clear, or is this getting over the head, right? And did you guys just notice about this new functions which I just introduced here, break and pass? Okay, so again, I'm gonna just give you a basic intro to this break and pass. Okay, so what happens in a loop? So if you feel that something is, this is the end of your thing, right? So if you feel that after this you don't want any computation to happen, right? So you what you can do is you can break the for loop, you can break the iteration, and and ask the compiler to run out of the compilation process itself. So what will happen? So whenever this condition will be met, right, and this will be printed, at the same time the code will stop doing the further processing, so it won't go ahead. So for example, suppose I'm saying that set 10, right? So for me 5 will be divided by 10, right? So I don't want after this 6, 7, 8, 9 to be processed. So in that case, if 5 is saying that it is the value is met, I will say the code to stop running. Okay, so I can break the looping at that time. I can do that, and at the same time pass, right? So if everything is good and I still want to continue with the code, I can do pass. So even in this pass, I can do this. I can, if this is fine, it'll move on for the next step. Okay, so it will not then if 5 is met, it'll go here. Okay, for the next step. So I can do it either ways. It's fine. Cool. So pass is like to continue the looping and to continue the iteration, and break is like to stop the to ask the compiler to come out of the loop and then just stop doing the work further ahead. Okay. Cool. Any questions, guys? Any questions? We can take, I think, one more question. Why not? So let's do this. Right. Let's do this. So now this is the next question now. So now I want the factorial of a number. Okay. So now what is a factorial? So the quick question, guys, what is a factorial of a number? Okay. Meanwhile, we'll take a question. Manish says, can we use, instead of pass, can we use continue? Yes, we can use continue as well. I don't remember, I don't recollect it whether do we have that keyword in continue. So I am aware of Java, or not aware of Python. If there is a continue keyword, let me check. I can get back to you on this. I'm not 100% sure if we can use continue, but I'm sure for pass. So we have the pass keyword here. Continue, I have to check this. I have not used continue, so I'm not sure if continue exists as a keyword in Python. So we can check it. In fact, let's try continue. Yeah, continue still exists. So let's try this. So 13. Yeah, true. Yes, you can use continue as well. So I mean, I think more or less the same work. So I didn't know continue does exist in Python, so I was using it somewhere else. But yeah, so in pass and continue both are same. So yes, thank you so much. I think it's a learning for me as well. Yes, we do have continue here. Cool, thank you so much, guys, and thank you, Manjunath. Yes, we have seen that continue can be used. I mean, I have never used it. Continue, I was using pass only, so I think it's a good learning for me too. Good, thank you so much, Manish, and thank you so much, Manjunath. Cool, guys. So next question, quickly, we're gonna do this factorial of a number. A quick definition I would want you from you guys. So what is a factorial of a number? So when I say I want the factorial of say 5, what do you mean by that? So factorial of 5, what do you mean by that? A quick question, guys. What is factorial of 5? So if you can give me the definition, I can try to put up the logical meaning from the numbers perspective, and then we'll try to code it. Okay, quick, guys. If you know it, just type in your answers. Again, I think we're seeing a lag of 15-20 seconds. So if you see me mute for some time, do not get confused. I'm still here. Right. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much, Tanushri, Manjunath. Yeah, Manjunath is by recursion. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And thank you, guys. Yes. So factorial means, yes. So basically, in the representation, what we do, we write it as like this. So 5, the exclamation mark we used to have in our 10th, 12th. I remember it. So 5 factorial is like 5 cross 4 cross 3 cross 2 cross 1. So this is your 5 factorial, right? This is what it is. So now, yes, yeah, we can do it in both the ways. To be honest, yes, we can do that. But again, to consider the ease of our understanding from the people, so from our target audience, we're going to do it from the looping, the iteration process. Okay, so that's what we're going to do now. Okay, so now you have the logic in front of you, right? So 5 factorial is what? 5 multiplied by 4, 3, 2, 1. So till 1 is my last number, right? So again, there is some sort of, I would say, a range here, right? So range is again what we will be needing here, right? Definitely. And the range here, this starts with 1, right? Correct? Because now this time I want the range to be starting from 1, correct? And here the end would be my whatever number. Suppose if I have 5, so you have already seen it, right? If I give 1 and 5 as my range, it will take till 4 because it will take n minus 1 as a boundary condition. So I have to give 5 plus 1. So I have to give 6 here to get. So let's try to print it. Okay, so if for 5 I need to give for I in range 1, 6. Shit. Print I. Okay. So now you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So the logic is to get till the, because I want the 5th value also, unless the last time I don't want the boundary conditions, I want the boundary conditions here as well, right? So I need to give n plus 1. Okay, so that's a small trick here. So I mean, it's anyway, you know this just by remembering the logic. So this is what is going to give me the range, right? So now I have the numbers here, right? I have the numbers here. Now the objective is to multiply these numbers on the loop, right? So basically I'll be getting this on the loop, and then I have to multiply these numbers on the loop, right? Any questions here, guys? Any questions? And again, the edge conditions here, right? So we already know this is for factorial. For there is for negative, my bad, negative values, there is no factorial, right? So there is no factorial of a negative value. And then for 0, the factorial value is 1, if you know it. I mean, this is the plain maths. Okay, so factorial, if you do 0 factorial, right, so the value is 1. So these are the edge conditions for me, right? So now anything value greater than 1 I'm going to target, greater than 0 basically what I'm going to target. Any questions here, guys? Any questions? Right? So I have two conditions here. The first is if my value, whatever I'm going to put, or say number, what I'm going to input, number is less than 0, basically my negative values, no, not factorial, right? If here, if my number is equal to 0, then the factorial is 1, and then I'm gonna have my else where I have to put in this logic. Cool. Any questions in this, guys? Any question in this breakup? Right? So cool. So I'm gonna put it in a simple way. Again, to answer your question, Tanushri, we can do it with while also. Again, as I said, there is no questions of which approach is right or wrong. All the approaches are right if you're coming to the right answer, right? So there is no hard and fast way of doing what. It's not mandatory that whatever I'm doing, that's the only way of doing it. Okay, do not take it like that. Okay, still there are n number of ways of solving the same problem. You can break it into multiple pieces. I'm just trying to make it simpler so that everybody in the classroom can understand the logics. Okay, and to convert the logic into the codes is what we're trying to learn here. Okay. So because if I give you the answers, it'll be like more of a reading for you, right? I don't want to do that. So I'm trying to break the logic and trying to add it for you. Okay. So that's how it is. So that's my logic, right? So I have written in the code. So basically this is my if else condition, what I have to put in. No questions asked here, right? And now the good thing is now I have to what? I have to multiply the number. So basically I, right? So now this is not going to be print here. So basically I have to multiply I to something, right? So I have to keep on multiplying it. Okay, so when you have something to do, like if you take a plus or a multiplication, or if you have to do something like that of computation in the loop, right, it's always advisable to define a number, like a starting point in the very beginning. So I'm gonna take, say, a factorial value as starting with 1. Okay, so because if we take it 0, so 0 multiplied by I will be 0, right? So I have to take it as 1. So because it's a multiplication task, so I'm going to define factorial at the very beginning as 1, and then I'm going to multiply. So now I'm going to alter this factorial itself. So factorial will be factorial cross I. Any questions, guys, in this? Any questions? So what I'm doing is, I've taken this factorial 1. This is my first value in the loop. So now every time in the loop, my factorial will be multiplied with I. So this is what I want, right? And multiplication 1 is not going to alter my answer anyway, right? So we can do that. So this is the entire logic what I want to put up. So now let's frame up some good things on top of it. Okay, so like for example, say now take num as my input, and take, say, enter the number. Okay, and then as you know, guys, we're gonna put it as an int. So this should be int. Let's do that. Now I have a logic here, and now this is not factorial. So now let's put up a if the number is less than 0, so I'm gonna put print here. So print is what? So say number, and then or maybe something fancy here. So say factorial is not possible for negative numbers. Okay, so this is my negative numbers, and then for 0, so I have my again print statement here. So I'm gonna print say factorial of 0 is 1. Okay, so I have this answer. Right now this is my logic here. So this is my factorial value. So ultimately factorial would be my answer. So let's try to print this. Okay, so print let's try to print factorial and see how it is working, so that you'll be able to understand it. So let's see this. So I have, say, factorial of 5, right? Oh my god, sorry, don't have to code. So oops, I have to restart the kernel. My bad. Okay, just a second, guys. I'm gonna load this up. Right. So I'm gonna write 5 here. Right. So can you see this? So I'm printing factorial here, right? So factorial, with the every loop, my factorial values are getting altered, right? So in the first loop, when the value is 1, the factorial value is 1. So 1 cross 1, and then 1 cross 2, then 2 cross 3, then 6 cross 4, then 24 cross 5. So this is what is happening inside, right? So you notice this. So basically at the end, the factorial is my factorial answer. This is my answer, right? So we can now print this. So I have the factorial here, and now coming back out of the loop, so print say factorial of my number. Okay, so I want to give factorial of, say, number, which is my input, and then I'm gonna print again say is, and then I'm gonna give what? Factorial. I can do that. Absolutely, I can do that. Cool, let's do this. So now I'm gonna give 5. Cool. So now factorial of 5 is 120. Any questions, guys? Any questions here? Right, thank you so much, Tanushri. Absolutely, 1 factorial is also 1. Yes, absolutely correct. Very well said. In fact, we have to write this also. Okay, so now very well said. We have done something wrong here. So in fact, we have to write this condition also. Elif number is equal to 1. Then you have to print, voila, I have to say factorial of 1 is also 1. Right. Thank you so much, Tanushri, for highlighting that. Thank you so much. Cool. Any questions, guys? Any questions? So we did some really good exercises today, and I believe you got a fair understanding of how we write the interview type of answers, right? So again, we can do it in n number of ways. Tanushi, don't take me wrong, okay? So you can still do it in n number of ways. Your approach is not wrong, okay? But what I'm trying to do is, it's like my approach, maybe somebody else's approach too. But again, your approach is not wrong. In Python, nothing is wrong. If you are getting the right answer, your approach is not wrong. You can do it in n number of ways, okay? So we are just trying to make it very simple. So I'm trying to make use of if else like as much as I can, so that the kind of population which we have here on the screen, I mean with us today, they are able to understand what I'm trying to say. Okay, so that is the objective here. But any questions today, guys? Any questions? Any questions of whatever we did today? So you are able to understand it, right? So you are able to understand what we are trying to solve. These are very basic questions, guys, very basic questions. Again, the complexity of this question will definitely increase as you go towards the seniority levels, right? But again, trust me, I have seen, I'll tell you my experience also. So I was getting interviewed for a senior data scientist role, and I was asked this prime number ka question. Can you believe that? So no question is wrong, okay? So and no question is easy, no question is out of the box, okay? You can still expect anything, okay? So just have the concepts clear, okay? If you can frame up your concepts, you can frame up your logic, right? You will be able to write the code. Codes are very easy. Codes are very easy, okay? It's just you have to bring up that logical understanding, and then indentation thoda Python mein hota hai, you have to take care of that. That's it. Okay, I think here इसमें तो हमने कुछ वैसे भी नहीं करा. It's plain simple thing, right? So we are doing some if else, and in this elif I'm added two elifs here. So yes, Tanushri very rightly pointed out, even the factorial of 1 is 1. So we have to find out those edge conditions also, right? Negative numbers, zeros, ones, and then the other numbers, the real integers, right? So that's way. Cool, guys? Anything else? Okay. We have a request here to using the match and switch. Why not? We can do that. Absolutely, we can do that. So I'll take it as a input from me. I'll definitely try to use it tomorrow, right? So we are anyway short of time today. Yes, I mean I will still say this, Vinod, right? So again, no approach is right, no approach is wrong. Definitely, I'll tell you how to do it with the switch case also. So the match switch, we can do that. But again, my point here is, you can do it in n number of ways you want, okay? N number of ways. Because we had a suggestion from Tanushi also using recursion, like we may be using the while loop also, we can do this. There are n number of ways, okay? So no approach is wrong. So do not focus yourself to a particular approach. So try to get the work done, okay? So try to get the work done on whatsoever way you are comfortable, okay? So it's not a question of which approach to choose. It's just a question of getting the right solution to my problem statement, okay? Right, and thank you so much, guys. I think this is the most active class I have seen today. So it's all because we are focusing on the interview questions. I understand, yeah, you guys are more focused towards your job. That's very well understood, and even I am more interested in that, right? So it's very two-way communication. Thank you so much, and I really like the class today. But again, as always, if you have any still last moment questions, I can give you 1 or 2 more minutes. Please feel free to drop in your questions. I'll try to answer it the best I can. And if everything is fine, we can move for the next, I mean tomorrow also we're going to do this. So we have some other good set of questions coming up, okay? So we're going to do that. So we're going to do at least again 5, 6, or maybe how many number of questions we can cover tomorrow. So we're going to take at least 5, 6 questions more. So most frequently asked questions in the interviews, okay? So we're going to do that. Cool. Any last moment question, guys? Totally my pleasure, Manjunath. Thank you so much for being so active in the class. Great, guys. Thank you so much, Tanushri, again, and thank you again for being so active in the class. Guys, I think I don't see any questions coming up. So thank you so much for joining in today, and I'm going to give your evening back. So grab a quick dinner, and please stay safe. And join us tomorrow at the same time, 7 p.m. We're going to cover some other set of commonly asked interview questions the same way we did today. Okay, so we're going to join tomorrow. So okay, we have one question from Manjunath. He says, why two statements for DACT is equal to 1? What is DACT here? Which one you say? You're talking about this? If you're talking about this, so basically, yeah, so we just talked about 0, right? I mean, we can still write if num is equal to 0 or num in 0 or 1. So either way is fine, right? So it's still work. So anything is fine. So because the thing is, both the conditions, my values are, the factorial is 1, right? So for the factorial of 0 and 1, I missed it. So Tanushri reminded us for that. So factorial of 0 and as well factorial of 1 is 1, right? So, and either way is fine. So I did not add here. So I'd add another statement. So because anyway, we want the statement here, right? So factorial of 0 and factorial of 1. So it's like beautiful looking thing, nothing else. So we just added two different elifs. So it should not be a problem anyway. And we can add as many elifs as we want. So it's possible. Okay, cool. Thank you so much, and stay safe, guys. See you tomorrow again at the same time, 7 p.m. So we're gonna join in for some other commonly asked questions in the interview. Okay. Stay safe. Join us tomorrow. Thank you so much. Bye bye.